The first thing we should talk about is the title of the poem. T.S. Eliot often used musical language in the titles of his poems because of the parallels between music and poetry. It also helped Eliot create a playful sense of irony. Remember, irony is when a situation appears to be the opposite of what is expected. For example, you may have noticed in our lesson on T.S. Eliot's The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock that it's not a love song at all. Eliot subverts or undermines our expectations for a romantic tale by serving us a portrayal of gut-wrenching loneliness. We have a similar situation here with Rhapsody on a Windy Night. Traditionally, a rhapsody is a lively, free-flowing melody that emulates an outpouring of human emotion. If something is rhapsodic, it's implied to be wild, passionate, and unpredictable. But instead of an outpouring of ecstasy and enthusiasm, Eliot delivers a cascade of confusion and agony. Rhapsody on a Windy Night is a bleak, almost nightmarish exploration of urban decay and a troubled psyche on the brink of madness. The other ironic thing is that the night doesn't seem all that windy. The only hint of atmospheric disturbance is the sputtering street lamp. Perhaps the wind is meant to be symbolic or representative of an agitated mind. What do you think? Hey team, just a reminder, if you like this video, please hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. It really helps the channel out, and our next upload could be on something taught in your next class. Thanks, and back to the video. Rhapsody on a Windy Night is a lyric poem, which is a form of poetry that conveys powerful emotions. This type of poetry usually has a musical quality to it and is told using first-person language, which is when someone refers to themselves with I, me, or my. In this case, Eliot uses the lyric form to express his thoughts and feelings through a persona, or character who narrates the poem. Let's have a look at the first stanza. Rhapsody on a Windy Night by T.S. Eliot. 12 o'clock. Along the reaches of the street held in a lunar synthesis, whispering lunar incantations, dissolve the flaws of memory and all its clear relations, its divisions and precisions. Every street lamp that I pass beats like a fatalistic drum, and through the spaces of the dark midnight shakes the memory as a madman shakes a dead geranium. The poem opens at midnight, a time that's traditionally associated with the supernatural. You'll see that Eliot uses these temporal references, or references to time, throughout this poem. Each temporal reference marks another strange twist in the persona's bizarre nocturnal journey through the city. By the way, we assume the persona is male because in 1911, when this poem was written, it would have been highly unusual for a woman to wander alone at night. Later in the poem, we also learn that the persona lives alone, which would have also been unusual for a woman in that era. Moreover, there's a tone or emotion of disdain expressed towards females in this poem. The scornful descriptions of a prostitute, the moon, which is a symbol of femininity, and females generally are reminiscent of the male resentment voiced by Eliot's other famous persona, J. Alfred Prufrock. In Rhapsody, there are also references to witchcraft in the first stanza. Midnight, the witching hour, is the time when the moon casts her spell over the city streets. As she whispers her lunar incantations or charms, the floodgates of the persona's memory dissolve. It's as if a portal has been opened. During the day, the persona might be able to keep his haunting memories locked away in a separate mental compartment. But at midnight, the metaphorical flaws of memory melt away, along with the divisions and precisions that separate memories from rational thoughts. A metaphor is when one thing is described as being something else, even though it isn't literally true. In this case, Eliot depicts the persona's psyche as a building with separate stories that keep his mind neatly ordered. But what happens when those flaws dissolve? The answer is in the second half of the stanza. Every street lamp that the persona passes beats like a fatalistic drum, heralding the persona's descent into temporary madness. The synaesthesia of light and sound in this description is unnerving and surreal. Synaesthesia is the blending of human senses to describe something. In this case, Eliot uses it to establish the street lamps as sentient objects that guide the persona through the dismal cityscape. They're kind of like the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland. If you talk to it for long enough, you're bound to go mad. As the persona moves between the street lamps, through the spaces of the dark, his sanity falters. Midnight is personified, or given human qualities, in its ability to shake the persona's memory. There is a sense of manic agitation as midnight upsets the persona as a madman shakes a dead geranium. This simile, which is when something is described as being like something else, compares midnight to a lunatic, which is appropriate in the context of the lunar incantations. It also portrays the fragility of the persona's mind. He is now at the mercy of the ravages of the witching hour. In the second stanza, the street lamps come to life. 1:30, the street lamp sputtered. The street lamp muttered. The street lamp said, "Regard that woman who hesitates towards you in the light of the door, which opens on her like a grin. You see the border of her dress is torn and stained with sand, and you see the corner of her eye twists like a crooked pin." It's 1:30 a.m. and the persona's distorted mind perceives the street lamp sputtering and muttering. The onomatopoeia in these two lines depict the street lamp's sudden intrusion on the persona's thoughts. Onomatopoeia is where a word sounds like the word it's describing. In this case, the street lamp seems to clear its throat the way a surly authority figure would if they wanted to get your attention. The street lamp then takes charge, ordering the persona to regard that woman who hesitates toward you in the light of the door, which opens on her like a grin. This imperative, or command, draws our attention to three things: the woman, likely a prostitute, the way she moves, hesitantly offering herself to the persona, and the lit doorway she stands in. The doorway is the most interesting part of this scene, as it's personified in the simile like a grin. This is not a warm, welcoming smile. It's more like the distorted grimace of the Cheshire Cat. It's a sinister invitation to be gobbled up into the city's sordid underbelly. No thanks. The street lamp also draws the persona's attention to the woman's dress, torn and stained with sand. The state of her dress is symbolic of her physical impurity, but also reflects the polluted environment of the city. But the way the woman's eye is described is fascinating. It twists like a crooked pin, stabbing the persona and holding him in agonizing paralysis. Does this sound familiar? It reminds us of Prufrock, where the persona describes himself as pinned and wriggling on the wall. The petrifying gaze of women seems to be a common theme in Eliot's early poems. In Rhapsody, it demonstrates how the persona is unable to form human connections. He is a detached observer, as flaneurs tend to be. The flaneur, or female flaneuse, is a person who wanders the city streets, soaking up the atmosphere and observing the finer details. We see this activity, known as flânerie, in T.S. Eliot's other poems, including Preludes and The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. It is a useful device for Eliot to explore the way modernity has degraded urban environments and alienated city dwellers. By now, you're probably thinking that this is all a bit depressing. Well, that's one way to look at it. But Eliot didn't write poetry to please us. Particularly in his early pieces, including Rhapsody, Eliot expresses his ideas about the damaging impacts of modernity. Rapid industrialisation in the early 1900s left many people feeling disillusioned with the idea of progress. Instead of providing convenience, comfort and community, modern urban living resulted in alienation. Eliot captures this with heartbreaking accuracy in Rhapsody, not to mention its magnificent surrealness. But the night has only just begun. What will the hours of 2 and 3 a.m. bring? Some say that's even worse than midnight. We hope you enjoyed this Schooling Online production. For more easy lessons, check out our other videos.